The views and opinions expressed by the guests or hosts of this program do not necessarily reflect those of Divine Mercy Radio, Incorporated.
From the studios of Catholic 540 AM, Divine Mercy Radio, this is Meet the Priest. There are over 120 active diocesan and religious order priests in our listening area. Meet the Priest gives you the chance to learn more about these dedicated and interesting people. Now, here's your host for Meet the Priest, Nicole Jungles.
Hello and welcome to Meet the Priest on Catholic 540 AM Divine Mercy Radio. Here we present you with the opportunity to meet and learn about the devout men in and around our diocese who have an amazing impact on our lives as Catholics. I'm your host, Nicole Jungles, and today we have a special guest, Father Larry Searles. Thank you so much, Father, for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
We're super excited to have you. So tell us about where you serve, and it's St. Raphael's in Raleigh, correct?
It is. It's St. Raphael the Archangel Catholic Church in North Raleigh, and it's a very large community. It's about I'd say maybe if you can include the school, which is St. Raphael's Roman Catholic School, perhaps maybe 3,000 families. So it's a large community. And it's also multinational, multicultural. We have people largely from Latin America, Mexico, Honduras, Colombia, very few from Puerto Rico, where I was for 40 years. And then also a very large Congolese community, French-speaking. We have Filipinos. We have some Indians as well from Kerala and from other parts of India, Bengal, and so yeah, it's a vast community. We had recently a multilingual mass where we had 9 languages represented, and that was just those that presented themselves. Yeah.
That's incredible. I haven't really heard of that big a diverse community here in Raleigh.
It's a very diverse community. I can't talk today.
No, that's wonderful. And when did you start serving at St. Raphael's?
I began in August of last year.
Okay.
So I'm their very, very recent arrival.
Yeah. And how many pastors are at this parish?
Too many. No. We have one pastor. Okay. And then we have 2 assistant pastors. Okay. So I'm an assistant pastor, so is Father Bruce Bavinger, and Father Tom Samiski is the pastor.
Yes, we had Father Tom here.
Right. Yeah, he said that, and he said that he really enjoyed his encounter with you. So,
good.
So that they kind of encouraged me.
Good.
So
wonderful. Well, welcome to our show here. So, can you tell us a little bit about, you mentioned having a really diverse community at St. Raphael's. What have you had going on right now? We are recording this late April. What do you guys have going on at the parish right now, and what's your impact there?
I'm trying to resurrect from what we've been doing in the past. We had, for Holy Thursday, we had a multilingual Mass where we had the 9 languages represented. We had, several different activities on Good Friday. We had a living Way of the Cross done by the Hispanics, and then they had their service, and then we had the English service as well. And during the whole of Lent, they had the Way of the Cross in both languages, Spanish and English. And then we had 2 vigil services, so one in Spanish and one in English. And then Easter, we had 2 English masses at the same time because we had to accommodate everyone. One was a Mass for children, followed by an Easter egg hunt. So I literally thought I needed to resurrect with Christ after that, because it's been now we have a bilingual Mass coming up on the 28th of April, which is we will be receiving the relics of Saint Gianna Molla, and so we will be having a bilingual Mass at 7 p.m. on Friday the 28th, and we expect a lot of the people from the diocese to be there. A lot of people have been invited. And we will place we'll have the Mass bilingual, and then a procession, and then adoration following a reception. in the Lewis Room, which is named after Monsignor Jerry Lewis, who built the church. So that's the next major thing that we're working on, and we're hoping to have a lot of people. It'll be one of 5 relics that we have represented at the church, because we have St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, we have Blessed Padre Pro from Mexico, Jesuit, we have Martin de Porres, and we have who's the other one now? The saint just went to heaven, but anyway, we have 4 others. It'll come to mind when I least expect. But anyway, so Jana Mola will be the 5th relic that we'll have in the Mary Chapel there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that St. Raphael's had such relics, so that's exciting to know. Yeah. So it sounds like there's a lot going on at the parish, as you've mentioned. So
we also have a school.
Yes, and the school. So what's really your role that you play primarily, other than your typical duties as a priest there?
My role, I'm basically in charge of preparing all the liturgies. So that's why I'm exhausted.
That's fair.
Because I prepare all the multilingual masses. I prepare all the readers' documents for the weekends, and basically I'm in charge of the ministers. So we have ministry leaders who are in contact with me, and then I kind of get from them the schedules that they put together, and then I put out a major schedule, the master schedule that we follow during the week. So it's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, but it sounds like you have a great system that keeps things running. So great.
We have a great team, great staff, and also the ministries are just incredible. All of the leadership that we have at St. Raphael's, they give their hearts and their souls. It's a real vocation that they have, and I think we feel very, very close to one another, and we work well together. We drive one another crazy, but that's to be expected. But I think we celebrate everything together. It's a real celebration, and everybody is on board. So
I love that. That's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of working hands. Yes. It takes a village to make a parish like that run the way it does.
Well, for example, once a month on one Tuesday of a month, I have what's called the Extended Liturgy and Music Committee. And it's all the ministry leaderships in both languages. So we have close to 20 people that attend that meeting who are the leadership people. And talking in 2 different languages, and communicating. And it goes on for 2 hours, and they don't want to leave. It's really, I want to leave, but they don't want to leave. It's really just heartening. And I think they're almost surprised too that we get along so well, and this is everything. This is not just the readers and the community ministers of communion. It's also people that are involved in funeral ministry, because we have the columbarium there as well. It's people who are doing live streaming. It's people who are involved in the decoration, what's called arts and environment, and I changed it to arts and entertainment, but that's okay. So it's really a wonderful place to work, and then there are other teams working with the formation, and then we also have a website, and we have a bulletin. So we have people that are directly involved with that, and then administration, just making sure that the pieces fit together. The copier is working, the internet is working. They always fail when you least need them to fail.
Yep, that's always how it works.
Exactly.
Well, I love that. Mm-hmm. So I want to touch on something that you briefly mentioned when we first started talking. Mm-hmm. So you started here in Raleigh about almost a year ago.
And a half, yeah.
And you said you spent 40 years in Puerto Rico.
Yes, I was 40 years in Puerto Rico. I began at the tender age of 24, and I'm 66 now. So I was initially, I'm a Jesuit. I belong to the Society of Jesus. And the Society of Jesus, at that time, I entered the province of New York, which no longer exists. Now it's the whole eastern seaboard. Mm-hmm. It was New York, England, New England, and Maryland. now they've all joined together. So at the time, New York had certain missions. One of them was Puerto Rico. So I had expressed an interest in learning Spanish. I already spoke French. And so they sent me down to Puerto Rico with the idea that I'd come back and teach French and Spanish. I never came back. So I came back for different times of formation. But in the end, I was there from 1981, 1st of January 1981, till September of 2020. So, and then I was asked to do a sabbatical to write a book. I'm working on a book right now, and I have a retreat manual already. We're using it already. And then things just happened. I won't get into that right now, but things happened, and I was asked if I wanted to go into parish again, because I was a pastor for 17 and a half years in Puerto Rico, pastor and director of a school, much like St. Raphael's. And I put two preferences. I said, after 17 and a half years of being a pastor, I would prefer not to be a pastor. And also, I would prefer not to be placed in a totally urban parish, because one of the options was Brooklyn, another one was Jersey City, another one was Staten Island, and then there was Richmond, Virginia, and Raleigh. And I said I'd prefer not to be in a totally urban parish, because Brooklyn really does only have one tree. So they sent me to Raleigh. I have never seen so many trees in my life.
Right?
It is a dog's haven.
Yes.
So many trees, so little time.
That's so funny. So are you originally from New York then?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm originally, my father's in the Navy for 27 and a half years, so I'm a Navy brat. I was born in Malta.
Okay.
My brother was born in Panama. I had a sister who died who was born in Miami. And so I'm the youngest. And so I was born in Malta. We moved to Texas, then to California, then Hawaii, then Florida. And from Florida to the state of Washington, from the state of Washington to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My parents were originally from Scranton, so we moved to Scranton for a period of 6 months. Then my father decided, when he retired from the Navy in Philadelphia, he decided that Rochester, New York, on Lake Ontario was like the ocean. I assure you, it is not like the ocean. The ocean doesn't freeze over in winter. So
that's true.
So I lived for 5 years in Rochester. I went to a Jesuit high school. Thus, I became a Jesuit.
Okay.
They were a great influence over me. And then I entered the Society of Jesus at the age of 18, 1975. In 2 more years, I'll be celebrating my 50th anniversary. They stole me from the crib. So, in fact, today is my 45th anniversary of First Vows. So,
congratulations.
Yeah. So, thank you. 1978, so it's hard to believe that so much time has passed. So I entered at the age of 18, and I was in 75. By 1981, I was already in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
So
what I'm interested to know is, during all of this time, it sounds like you've moved a lot, as an understatement.
It is an understatement.
I feel like I would lose track of all these places. So were you devout to your faith throughout your childhood? What was that like growing up?
That was very interesting. That's a very interesting question. My parents are the only parents I know that eloped to get married.
Really?
It was World War II. My father was in the Navy, and he entered, I think, in 1942. He entered the Navy, and then my parents decided to get married. My father was Episcopalian, belonging to a very Protestant town. His family was very Protestant. And then my mother came from a very Catholic town, a very Irish Catholic on top of it. So they decided to get married. They ran away, I guess, went to Maryland, got married in Elkton, Maryland, at a Methodist church. And then my parents, obviously, my mother was very Catholic and brought us up as Catholics. And this is a wonderful story because for 30 years, they went to Mass together. It was always, my family always presented a united front. So my father always, when he was home, because he was away 6 months, home 6 months, away 6 months, home 6 months. But when he was home, we, as a Searles family, went to Mass. That's what the Searles family did. We never questioned it. My father was always there. My parents could not receive communion. So when people tell me, well, we can't go to and receive communion because we're not married in the church, they're talking to the wrong person. And so my mother always said she didn't want to force my father to convert. But on their 30th wedding anniversary in 1974, their 30th wedding anniversary, my father became a Catholic, and they were married in the church. I was a witness to their marriage, the Catholic marriage. 1974, 1975, I entered the Society of Jesus. Isn't that a wonderful story?
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
So people have problems with me when they come up with these excuses of, I don't go to Mass because I'm not married in the Catholic Church. Well, yeah, so?
And?
So
that's great. So you become a Jesuit, and then when did you know for sure, though, that meant you wanted to become a priest? I know you mentioned mission work. Was that kind of the first step? Okay.
Basically, I wanted to be a veterinarian all my life. Before that, I love animals. I'm a Franciscan Jesuit. I have a heart of a Franciscan. I love animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian, but in high school, in 8th grade, because they have an 8th grade at my high school, I failed introductory to physical science, and then I continued to do very poorly in biology and in especially chemistry. And I thought, okay, maybe I shouldn't be a vet. So I got looking at other things, and I thought about teaching. And also, then the vocational issue came up. Well, what happened was once I entered, that's when I started excelling in science. You see, God had clinched it. All right. So I entered because I could imagine giving my life to two communities, my high school, which was a Jesuit high school, and my parish. I was very much involved in both. And I think that's true for anyone who has a vocation. They could imagine as a young person being able to give their lives to this community. I think that's where we miss a point. We miss the point that a vocation is something, it's based in an experience of being able to envision giving your life to something of great value and giving your life to a community. That, at least, is my experience, and I've never found it to be different with others. So when I entered, I was involved in so many service projects in high school. I got the most awards for the service I did, and
like community service.
Yeah, I got the Community Service Award for the diocesan newspaper in Rochester. I was one of 500 that were selected. One of 500 out of the whole nation. The Explorer Post gave an award for service. I got so many awards, and I was very much involved, and I really wanted to serve. That's why I entered the Society of Jesus. God was not part of it. I mean, I would go to daily Mass, but I have to be honest, God put that carrot in front of me. So what happened? In my second year, I was sent to a cancer hospital in South Bronx called Calvary Hospital. Now it's in North Bronx. But it is a hospital where you have to have, in order to be admitted, 1 to 3 weeks to live.
So it's like a hospice?
No, it's a hospital.
Just a hospital?
It's a hospital.
Okay, interesting.
With patients that have to have 1 to 3 weeks to live. And the miracle of it is that 15% of all of those who enter with that prognosis of 1 to 3 weeks leave in remission or totally healed.
Oh, my goodness.
And they attribute it to the care that they get from the staff there. And so I was sent there. I was 19 years old, and months of November and December, Thanksgiving and Christmas, family times. These people are alone. I was one of those that was visiting. They were alone, and a whole floor would just die every week. I mean, so you can imagine, here I am, 19 years of age, and never having confronted death at that scale.
I can't imagine.
And I entered into a religious, an existential crisis.
Absolutely.
I was faced with either God doesn't exist. How could God exist if he lets this happen? Or if God doesn't exist, what sense do I make of this? And so obviously through that, I came to the conclusion, no, only God could make sense of this, especially given the fact that 15 out of every 100 left healed or in remission. That's miraculous. So, and I met some really, really wonderful people there, including the patients that I still hold in my heart. Then, after that, I went on a 30-day silent retreat, the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, and I was terrified. So before I went on the retreat, I actually went through a vocation crisis, and I told my novice director that I was leaving the Society of Jesus. And the only thing that saved my vocation at that point was he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "No." So he asked me to wait it out and see. I couldn't come to a decision, and the 30-day retreat was precisely to come to some decision. So I decided to do the retreat, and it changed my life. And I've dedicated my life to the spiritual exercises ever since. In fact, the book I'm writing is on the spiritual exercises. I'm giving the spiritual exercises at the parish, and we're hoping to kind of set up a type of center there for Ignatian spirituality. So,
wow. I'm going to take a second just to remind any listeners that are joining in that we're sitting down with Father Larry Searles from St. Raphael's in Raleigh, and he's been talking about just his journey to becoming a priest. And I just can't imagine you were 19 when you were...
I entered at the age of 18.
Right, but at the hospital,
I
feel like that's just such a heavy things to carry with you, and kind of you're still maturing at that age and figuring out, that kind of questioning that as existentialism, like you were mentioning. So moving forward, what happened after that? So when did you go to Puerto Rico? Was this soon after that?
What happened was I went for philosophy studies. Okay. After 2 years of novitiate, I went to Fordham University for philosophy studies, and we had to have a double major. So I took philosophy and French. I figured if I had to teach, I could teach French because I had already had several years of French in high school. And I love languages. So when I was at Fordham, I had a counselor, a Jesuit, who said, "Larry, you're not going to learn French unless you go to France. Ask your provincial to go to France." I said, "Yeah, that's going to happen." So I went to the provincial because he was my counselor. He was telling me I had to do this. So I went to the provincial and I said, "Would you give me permission to go to France?" And in fact, he did. So I went to France for 10 months. And so then I was supposed to go, back. What happened was when I was in France, I took so many credits. I wanted Fordham to accept some of the credits. I didn't think they'd accept them all. They accepted them all. So I actually ended a semester early. So I had the semester kind of there. Well, what am I going to do? And we were supposed to, before we went in, the time after philosophy is a time called Regency, when we usually teach. So I didn't know if I was going to go into Regency in the following summer, or if I was going to Regency in January. So I said, what am I going to do? Because we had to go to a school to teach us how to teach, basically. The Jesuits are very, very, well-formed, and it's because they have these programs. So I wrote to the provincial, and I wasn't hearing from him. And finally, I wrote him a letter, and I said, well, if you're not going to let me go to this school, why don't you let me go to Spain? Because I'm in Europe already, and I'll pick up some Spanish. I got the quickest response I've ever gotten from a superior. No, come back. So I came back, and within a week, I was in the provincial's office, the superior's office, and he said, "I hear you want to learn Spanish. How would you like to go to Puerto Rico?" So I said, I didn't even know where Puerto Rico was. I thought at that time it was part of New York City. But anyway, So I said, sure. So I was supposed to go there for only 6 months and then come back and teach French and Spanish. But the principal at the school in Puerto Rico objected. He felt that they should have a part in the decision too. In the end, I stayed for 3 years, 2.5 years actually. And then I was sent to Boston for 9 months of CPE, clinical pastoral education in a hospital. And then after that, I went to theology in Toronto for 4 years. And then I was sent back to Puerto Rico to replace a person who was the chaplain in the high school. And he ended up becoming the provincial of New York. And then after that, I was sent from Puerto Rico to tertianship, which is I was already a priest. I was already ordained a priest. Tertianship is the last period of formation before we pronounce final vows. The first vows, which I celebrate the anniversary today, the first vows are when we commit ourselves to the Society of Jesus, but we're still on probation until final vows. That's when the Society of Jesus says, we accept this person. So we're on probation till then. So for my tertianship, which is like a second novitiate, my provincial, the island superior decided that he would send me to India because it was cheap. It was like $2.30 a day for room and boarding.
$2?
Yeah. Wow. It was incredible. So, so I was sent to Tamil Nadu, to the south of India for my tertianship. But then I was told, see, Nigeria was part of the New York province. So they said, since you're going to be in the area, we're going to send you to Nigeria. So I went to Nigeria for 4 months. Then I went to India for 6 months. And then I went back to Nigeria for 4 months. And then for a period of like 3 years after that, I was in Rochester, my alma mater. Then in 1996, I was sent back to Puerto Rico, and I stayed there till 2020. So
I feel like I need a map with arrows, or I'm trying to keep up.
My
That's incredible.
My father told me at one point, I thought it was join the Navy and see the world. I realize now it's join the Jesuits and see the world.
It must be. Well, I feel like you must have just been prepared for all of that moving around, given your upbringing.
Yeah,
so
sure.
What a blessing God said,
for
you
sure.
think this is going to end, but
exactly.
it's not.
It's not ending.
Oh my goodness. So
and here I am in Raleigh.
Yeah, in Raleigh.
Explain that one.
Yeah. So, because I'm not a math person, how many years all in all until you, I guess you had that, forgive me if I pronounced it wrong, you said
tertianship.
So how many years between the start of the Society for the Jesuits and
till the end of tertianship and final vows? 18 years.
Wow.
18 years.
And that's not for someone joining.
12 years before ordination.
Okay.
And then subsequent to that, before final vows, another 6 years.
So is that different from another priest's typical journey to become a priest?
Yes, I entered from high school.
Okay.
So I had 4 years of philosophy. That would have had if you came in you can come into the Society of Jesus as a priest. Of course, that would you still have to go through a certain amount of formation.
Right.
You could go in with college experience, which I didn't have. You could have a doctorate. That would certainly change things. So, yeah, mine was probably one of the longer.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little slow.
No, everyone has their own path. Yeah, exactly. However long or short it takes. I just had to ask because I'm like, am I missing something? I don't think it's been that long before.
Ours is very, very long, the formation.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. Because it's not just studies, although I have 4 master's degrees.
4 master's?
Yeah, I always thought it was like venial sin. You can commit venial sin as much as you want. It never adds up to mortal sin. Yeah. Well, in the same way, you can have as many master's degrees and it's not going to be a doctorate. I never wanted a doctorate because I never wanted to be stuck in a university. I'm too pastoral a person.
Sure.
So, and if they're going to spend that much money on a doctorate, they're going to put you in a position that I
you don't want to be pigeonholed into something.
Exactly.
I understand.
So I have 2 master's degrees. I have MDiv, the Masters of Divinity, Masters of Theology, Masters of Spanish, and Masters of French. So
I love that. A scholar, a world traveler. Look at that. Yeah. So when
a Jesuit, that's a
Jesuit
typical,
too. Yeah. So when you were in Puerto Rico for a majority of your career and all of that, what did you love about it? What really was driving for you there?
The answer is always going to be the same. Whoever you ask, it's the people.
Yeah.
Of course, the food too is wonderful. I love fried food, and they're experts at fried food, but really it's the people, the music too. I've always said you get two Puerto Ricans together and there's a party, and
just two.
You just need two and there's a party, and the other thing too is, and this is true of all Hispanics, I think, Hispanics have a different concept of friendship. It's very easy for us to become friends in our culture. It's very easy, but it's superficial. Whereas in Puerto Rico, it's very, very difficult to get in. I was a whole year in Puerto Rico without one friend. I arrived on the 1st of January and met my first good friend in December of that year. And the reason for it is the concept of friendship is very different there. When you're a friend, you're a family member, and that's true of most Hispanics. So now anyone who's a friend of mine, if they go down, the doors automatically open up and they're friends because I'm family. I'm family. And so my family is in Puerto Rico. And even, it's interesting, my brother's going down to Puerto Rico in August. I'm not going. They've already built up their own friendships and everything. And so they're as much a part of the family as I am.
That's so sweet.
So my father lived there for 8 years. So they're really family. They're really family. And that's true of all Hispanics, including at St. Raphael's. I feel very much part of the family of these people, and they feel the same way. So when you have family like that, it's just, that fills you with life, and of course they also drive you crazy. But
I understand that. I'm Italian, so I feel like that there's similarities there for sure. So I'm curious. So from being in Puerto Rico, you're seeing these cultural norms and differences. So how have you seen that translate to your time here in Raleigh? Because you are with such a diverse community, not just Hispanic.
Right. Well, there are also Nigerians and the Congolese. So, I have had that experience in Nigeria as well of 8 months. And I was also in India, and we have a large Indian community. So I hadn't reflected on that actually, but I kind of fit right in because I've already had a cultural experience with the same cultures that are present at the parish. So, so that's been rather extraordinary. I think my biggest cultural shock was with the Mexicans here, because
in Raleigh,
in the parish, because the Mexican community here is a lower class group economically, and many of them have situations which are irregular. There are some who can't even write their own names. I've seen them sign with an X. Not everybody, but it's clearly not the social situation that I have, socio-economic situation that I had in Puerto Rico, which is, Puerto Rico is the poorest of the American territories, but it's wealthier than the Latin American one. So in getting to know the Mexicans and entering into the Mexican culture and everything, they're very devout. It's very conservative Catholicism, and it's heavy. It's kind of heavy, So I wasn't used to that, and then I had to change my language. I had a person that worked with me who came up to me one time and said, "Father, what are you trying to tell me? I'm Mexican," and because the words were different and the concepts at times. She even went so far as to download a Puerto Rican dictionary so she could understand what I was saying.
My gosh, that's so funny.
So there have been some adjustments, but at this point, I can't say 40 years in Puerto Rico. It's a very different culture, very different. Whenever I get together with Puerto Rican or with a Dominican or any Caribbean culture, I come alive. And that's nothing against the Mexican culture. I love them, and it's just a very different culture. They're very, very serious. They're very, very devout. They're very, Puerto Rico, let's have a party. I mean, they go on a protest, and they, there's even on YouTube, there's a comical thing where the guy says, his sister was at the university, and they're going to go and they're going to protest the government and everything. And then she starts saying, now, could you bring the sandwiches over? We got to prepare sandwiches and sandwiches. Yes. And by the way, can you call so-and-so because they're going to be playing music at the, what? So that's typically Puerto Rican, it's a party, any excuse for a party. So.
I love that. Well, and what's interesting though is, I'm hearing you talk about this, and I'm just thinking how, God knew you were going to find yourself and your joy in that specific place. So that's such a beautiful experience. Well, let me put it this way.
The prayer that we did initially, which is not being shared here, but I have this distinct feeling that God was preparing me actually for here.
For Raleigh. Well, with all of the different cultures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I'm here, and, everything that I've learned is coming to
you could suddenly transfer all of those skills and knowledge that you've gained over 40 years. So I love that so much. Yeah. We are starting to come up on time here, but before we go, I do want to ask, what is some advice you have for some of our Catholics who maybe are coming from a multicultural background? How can they get involved in their faith here in the Diocese of Raleigh?
Well, I'm not beyond stealing all of the parishioners from any other parish to come to St. Raphael's. Thank you for that infomercial.
When you're here, your family,
exactly. Right? No, I think anyone who is, first of all, you need a parish. I'm very strong on this because of the Ignatian spirituality. Mm-hmm. It's all about encounter with Christ. And we encounter Christ in the community. So where Catholics are they have a varied background. We have different people at different stages, and there are a variety of parishes. Each parish has its quirks and its culture, and some are very conservative, some are very liberal, some are very cultural, some are. It's just I think in a sense you have to initially search for the community that you feel at home with. But then once you've found it, you don't change it. You have to get involved. You must get involved in the community, and you have to register in that parish. It's very, very important. You can't go church hopping. That is not to be a Catholic, a Roman Catholic. To be truly a Roman Catholic and to have the possibility of encountering Christ, you do it through a community into which you become committed. And, it's the more you become involved in the life of a community, the more you will encounter others and also Christ through them. So, it doesn't matter what culture you are. We have people who do not belong to any of the cultural groups that are there, and yet they feel very much part of the community. We have people who don't speak Spanish as a first language, and yet they'll come to the Hispanic masses. We have people coming from other parishes during the daily masses because of hours, but they come because I think they find community there, a community that's loving and receiving and welcoming. And I think every parish that can be that's not just St. Raphael's, that's every parish. But someone who is of one ilk of Catholicism might not be attracted to St. Raphael's, but maybe to Lourdes, or so I think you have to initially go and find out what is the community where I'm finding God, where I'm finding Christ, where I have a chance of an encounter, a deepening encounter, and then stay there and get involved. It doesn't matter what culture, it doesn't matter what. We're all Catholics, but I do think that commitment to a community and the involvement in the community is the only way we're going to be truly faithful to our Catholic faith.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's important, and a lot of Catholics out there might not think about the community aspect.
Exactly.
So we are going to close, but I do have a small request.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to close us out in a Glory Be in Spanish?
Oh, of course. Gloria al Padre, y al Hijo, y al Espíritu Santo, como era en principio, ahora y siempre, por los siglos de los siglos. Amén.
Amen. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Father. We loved chatting with you today. That is Meet the Priest for another week. So thank you so much for visiting with us today, Father. If any of our listeners missed our program, you can play our past shows by going to Catholic540am.org and click on local programs. You can also listen to our radio show and podcast on our Divine Mercy Radio smartphone app. It's available on the App Store or Google Play. Just search for Divine Mercy Radio NC and you could download it for free. Our executive director of Catholic 540 AM Divine Mercy Radio is Melissa Savage. Our coordinating producer for Meet the Priest is Molly Sandner. Our engineer is Keith Flannery. I'm Nicole Jungles. Thanks for listening. May God bless you, and don't forget to say your rosary.